Nick the Mutant is out. Is Andrew Jack out? You'll find out soon.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we're live for another edition of Heavy Muscle Radio. It's Olympia week. Chris is in Las Vegas already. I'll be heading out Tuesday, and we got another great show for you. Chris, Nick Walker out. I called you 3 weeks ago. I told you I saw pictures. Wasn't that impressed. What did you say to me?
I said he's going to pull out. I
didn't believe you. And we got word about, I'd say about 4 days before this announcement, that we heard he was pulling out. Out of respect for Nick and his coach, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to break it on the show. I wanted to make sure that he broke it first, but you were right with your prediction. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, if the backstory is, I tried to tell Dave, except it would be mean because we were kidding. I thought he'd pull out of the show, and I said, Dave, why don't we, in the prediction show, I'll pick him as the winner, and you can say you had, what'd I tell you? Say that you had a dream and you pulled out.
Yeah, and I said, why do you have to make me the bad guy all the time? Why do I have to be? But I would have looked like the Swami if I would have done that, right?
Yeah, you would have.
You know, I did two videos. One video was breaking the news, and then the other video I did today, we put up this morning, and it was basically me explaining what my theory was on what happened, because I just know, and I could, sometimes I'm naive, so you can tell me if I'm being naive here. I don't believe that Nick has any health problems. I think Nick was fully committed from what he told us in that video. I just think his body wasn't doing what it wanted to do, and the only thing I can say that in my experience that would do that was he literally didn't look like he was taking any anabolics. And obviously you need to do that to compete at the Olympia level. I don't know if what he was taking was no good. That was my theory. Or do you have another theory that could be the possible reason why we weren't going to see the best Nick Walker on stage?
Could be burnt out. I mean, that was when I saw the pictures. That's what you said, and I said the opposite. I said just he's burnt out.
Well, but he didn't say he felt burnt out. He said he felt really good going into this prep. He was, all in, and he was big at the New York Pro. He was a little off at New York Pro, but he was not small at New York Pro.
I know. So sometimes, I hear that, and sometimes your body's burnt out, and you don't know that it doesn't burnt out.
He had a whole year off, Chris. He didn't do the Olympia last year because of the injury he had.
Yeah, I mean. On paper, you should not be burnt out, but sometimes your body's just fried, and a telltale sign is like after competition, you get some type of rebound, and you're like, God, I feel like a monster, and the opposite to that is after a competition, you don't get that, and that's a sign that your body's not working with you anymore.
Now, I heard a rumor.
That's conjecture, but it's the opposite of what you're saying.
Yeah, and you could be right, because we don't know, and that's what I said in the video. I said I really don't know. I gave you my theory because I've seen it happen to guys before where they didn't test their gear, they were using bad gear, and they did everything right. They ate right, they trained right, they slept, they did prepped right, and then their body just didn't respond. Now, the opposite could be true. He could be on a ton of gear. It could all be real, and his body might not be responding. I don't believe that to be the case because just the way I saw that he looked, it wasn't right. Now, a lot of people are saying in the comments too, and I've seen this, other people texting me, saying he looks like he's, he's bloated and he looks, all distended. Well, once you quit dieting for a show, I'm sure emotionally he was a wreck and he went out and ate everything in sight. So I don't know that I'm not in the house with him, but I'm assuming he hasn't been following the diet the last couple of days. He's probably eating and eating and eating. So could be the reason he was rebounding a little bit off the contest diet.
Whether your theory, my theory, the fact of the matter is you did show me the picture.
Yeah.
And I just thought that a guy of this caliber won't be doing the show simply because he was not going to place high, and that's why I said he's going to pull out.
Now I want to talk about the whole quitting the show, because that's another whole topic. But before we do, I actually heard a rumor. I'm not going to say who told me, and I don't know if it's true or not. But I'll just throw it out there that last year when he tore his hamstring, I heard it wasn't a hamstring tear. I heard it was a blood clot. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that rumor. So there's a lot of stories out there. No one really knows what's going on. I don't think that Matt and Nick are liars. I felt that the video that they did, they were very transparent. They said, look, we don't know what was going wrong. We just know that we didn't look good, and we didn't want to present that on stage. Now, here's my question to you, Chris, because we've seen this happen in the past. We've seen guys like Lee Priest get on stage at less than their best. We've seen guys, get sick. And Brandon Curry was in the hospital the day before last year's Olympia. Luckily, he did wind up looking good and plays fourth, but not his best for sure. We've seen Dorian tear muscles and not, and still show up and win the Olympia. Was this a mistake on his part? And should the organization have let him out of his contractual obligations to the Olympia since he did sign a contract?
I don't think it was a mistake to pull out of the show. But, that's
should he be allowed to?
Well, you can be allowed to, but there is a contract involved.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Was that wrong of them to let him out of the contract?
I mean, people break contracts all the time. The question is, what's the ramifications of breaking a contract? It was me who, listen, it was me, but, Sean Roden rang me up. He guest posed as the worst guest poser in the history of guest posing at Pittsburgh. And he was, he knew he looked absolutely horrendous. And time was ticking, he had to go to Pittsburgh, and he said, should I back out? It's only a guest posing. It's not the Olympics. Right. And he didn't have a contract with Jim Mannion. And I said, did you look terrible? And he said, I look terrible. And I said, how terrible? He said, absolutely terrible. And I said, did you give your word, which is kind of, in this case, a contract. And I said, you know what, John, if you gave someone your word, you're kind of obligated to following through on it. And he went to Pittsburgh, and, the entire bodybuilding world crapped all over him, and probably rightfully so, because he looked terrible. But, he fulfilled an obligation that he had committed to. So, the contract is, it's part of the competition. You sign something, the promoter signs something, there's an expectation. You can always break it, but I don't know what the ramifications are. It's probably in the contract, right? I mean, you don't have to. You can't be forced to show up if you don't want to. You can break the contract, but there's probably some paragraph in there that says, you got to pay people back if you don't compete. I would imagine.
Well, Wayne used to, fine guys. I don't know what the exact fine.
Wayne fined guys for like looking at.
No, I know, but I'm saying he fined them. When you impose a fine, okay, guys are less likely to drop out, is what I'm saying. So I don't know, this was not like a medical, like if you tear a muscle or you have a health problem where you're in the hospital, that's a different story. You have to, in that case, it's a valid excuse. But if you just don't like the way you look, and I like Nick Walker, I love his physique. I love his personality. I love his, love of the sport, but you can't break a contract a week out and expect, and not get punished for it. I mean, I think that there has to be some sort of a ramification, because otherwise guys will be dropping out left and right if they don't like the way they look, and just so that they won't lower their stock. But we've seen guys on stage that were not their best. I'm sure that they're not delusional. They knew they were not their best, but they did the show because they had made the obligation to do it. So in that sense, I think he should have done the show, sucked it up. he probably still would have squeaked. He probably still could have squeaked out of top 5. You know, if he would have dropped to 6th and 7th, big deal. Had an off year. There's been a lot of guys that have had off years and then have come back and done tremendously well. So I think that was a mistake. And I think because of his popularity, a lot of guys bought tickets and were going to the Olympia to watch this guy compete, especially because he wasn't there last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a blow everywhere. It's a blow to, it's a blow to him. It's a blow to the promoters. It's a blow to the organization. He's a calling card for the show. He's a hyped up and deservedly so person for the show. He's a dark horse for the show. I mean, we've been talking about, for weeks on end, like, what do you do with Nick Walker? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. What do you do? In other words, he's a factor for sure with a capital F.
Yeah.
Like, where does he land in the comparisons? And, when you'd ask me, I'd say, God, I'd struggle with it because he's a mass monster, and the Olympia is still, it's a conditioning game, but it's also, the fans and the judges, they love mass, and that's why.
Chris, you remember the year Vince Taylor came with the eye patch on?
Yeah.
I mean, he was really off that year. I think hadn't he won the Arnold Classic right before that too?
Won it that year.
Yeah, he won the Arnold Classic. He came back. Everyone thought, he was going to go and win the Olympia, and he shows up with this eye patch. I don't know, he got damaged his eye in some way, and he was really off. And I'm sure he did not want to compete. He was not at his best, and he was coming off a victory at the Arnold, like a spectacular victory. But he did it. He did the show, and that's really, at the end of the day, you have to live up. When you're a professional, you got to live up to your contractual obligations. I do want to mention the RX Muscle contest that we're running. The predictions contest. You can, Sid had the link up there. Sid, put that link up again there. And it's free to enter. You could win prize money, species nutrition products, chicken from the chicken pound.
What are you doing, Dave, about the prediction poll? Because now, I mean,
you can modify. You can go back and modify your predictions if you already made them, because Beirut is out, obviously, and Nick is out now. So you can go back if you picked any of those guys in the top 15. You can modify it. Say likewise, so it's top 15 for the open men, top 5 for the classic physique. You have to pick the winner of all the other divisions, and whoever gets the most right, and it will be graded immediately. As soon as the show's over, Sid will know the winner. And we're gonna have top 3 prizes, really nice prize packages. Once again, it's free to enter. All you're doing is giving up your email. And I think that I'm actually interested, Chris, to see if someone gets everything right. Because if that person gets right, like you said, they should be a regular on this show every week.
Dave,
they obviously know more than you and I do.
How much money are you giving away?
I think we're going to give $1,000 to first place, plus a couple $100 in species products, plus a couple $100 worth of chicken from the chicken pound. It's a nice prize package. So someone will win. Last year we actually did top 10, and there was, I think, 4 winners. And by the way, one of our winners was a vegetarian, and he gave over his chicken to you, our good friend Derek. And I don't think you ever got your chicken because of that. So I have to have Carlos send some chicken. I'm sure you will.
Oh no! Don't tell me we're frozen, Dave. Is Dave frozen, or am I frozen, Dave? Olympia week, and we have no Dave Palumbo. Dave's frozen in his basement with his species fibrillized by his side. Dave, I don't know how to know if I'm the frozen one or you're the frozen one. Talk about technical snafu, Dave. People are going to be pissed. Who would have predicted that you'd freeze up, Dave? Dave is frozen. Did Dave log out? He'll jump out, and I'm sure it says desktop bodybuilding. Xavier, if I could pull you in, I'd pull you in to talk about your arguments with Milos. Well, anyway, so we are. I don't think we can do. I don't think we can continue without Dave. Meaning, all right, we're going to continue with Dave. I have to know if I'm live though, so somebody's going to let me know. Dave's computer froze up a week before the Olympia. It's like amateur hour. Xavier, can you give me the cue that we're still live? Because I don't know if we are or not. Oh, here comes Dave. Dave,
Yes, my computer died. Can you hear me?
unbelievable. Dave,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear
Okay.
me?
I think the Nick Walker cursed me for talking about him, but I got
You should you're not going to be able to. People aren't going to let you live that one down.
my computer just turned off. I don't know what's going on. I think we have a storm here now. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Southwest Florida. Right by Cape Coral. I'm in Cape Coral, right by Fort Myers, and we're going to be getting hit by this crazy hurricane that they're saying is going to be like a Category 4 or 5. Ever since I moved down here, Chris, the hurricanes have been like nonstop. I got out of New York because of Hurricane Sandy, and now I came down here, and all the hurricanes followed me down here. I'm like Roy Scheider from Jaws. The shark keeps following me around the globe. And I was supposed to leave Wednesday morning for Vegas.
Yeah.
But of course, that's when the hurricane is coming. So I preemptively booked another flight on Tuesday morning at 5:40, the earliest flight they had. Unfortunately, I have to connect on this one, but I'm getting out of here Tuesday morning. I hope the hurricane doesn't come early because we already got bands of rain outside, which might have been why we got knocked offline here. But it's pretty nasty down here, and I hope a lot of guys don't have trouble getting out and getting to the Olympia because there's a lot of people from Florida who come over there. There's a lot of competitors, and hopefully guys were smart enough, like I was, to try to book early. But this happened once before, and I think it was 2017. I almost didn't get out because of a hurricane too. So
yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
that's why on the 3rd, in case the.
All right, just to quelch all the rumors, is Andrew Jacked in the show?
No, he's out.
No. I heard he had a little gas attack in the gym, and he decided he didn't want to do it. Is that true? Yeah.
Cormier just texted me, like today. People started texting me, and I thought, like, wait a minute, they get this confused with like Nick. I'm dead serious. I'm like, why are people texting me? I got like 2 texts, and I didn't even respond. And then when Cormier texts me, I'm like, I called him and I said, Chris, you were in the gym. We were in the gym. You saw him yesterday training.
I know. I think people were angry that we broke the story, so they said, let's just break another story just for shits and giggles, and so they made up the Andrew Jack story. But was there any truth that I heard he had an abdominal cramp? What?
None. Zero.
Okay. So because you told me it was a gas pain he had, right, or something like that. He farted or something like that, and he
not as bad as Will Smith.
I heard Will Smith got what did Chris Rock win $40 million or something like that?
No, on it was just this week. It was on Yahoo News that when they're making Men in Black, Will Smith would fart and it would clear out the entire last.
Wow. I heard he lost a ton of money in a lawsuit. Chris Rock won like $40 million from him. Is that
really?
Yeah, just recently. Let me see. I'm looking on my source for all news, TMZ. Yeah, I heard $40 million he won in like a lawsuit or something like that.
Yeah, Chris Rock 40?
Yeah. Chris Rock won suing what's his name? Will Smith. That's an expensive slap. It cost Will Smith a lot of money.
Yeah, I wonder if Will and Chris Rock attended any of Diddy's parties.
Yeah.
They're gonna get sued for accomplishing.
This is Nick. What's his name? Sid's putting up that video about Andrew Jacked out of the Olympia. This guy posted something. I think these guys were just jealous that they didn't have the breaking news story, so they made up a story.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have you to at least clarify the stories in terms of coach.
Thinking.
Yeah. I think that's very wishful thinking on a lot of guys' part. Yeah. How good is Andrew Jack looking right now?
He looks great.
What's he weighing?
I'm not saying.
Is he over 300?
Yep.
Wow. Holy shit. It's gonna be. I'm telling you, people, if you count Andrew Jacked out, you are a fool. This guy is gonna be. I can't see him being any worse than top 3 here at this Olympia. And you know what? He might be.
I will say this. He's got a very big side chest.
Did Lee Haney talk to him and tell him, big man, don't go to the ground?
Don't do those, man. Don't do those splits. Splits are for ballerinas.
Good big man, don't go to the ground, right? That's the conventional wisdom of Lee Haney. Was Chris Cormier at any Diddy parties? I don't know. We should ask Chris Cormier that.
No, Cormier, yeah. He may have been invited.
If Chris was invited, he would have been there, believe me. I don't think Chris went to any Diddy parties. The closest Chris came to the celebrity was when he almost had a fight with Mike Tyson at the nightclub where he used to bounce.
Yeah. That goes way back.
Yeah, that's way back.
But he was there. I saw Cormier at the gym. He was training with Rion, and there's camp going on out here. He's got people coming out and training them, and always good to see Chris.
I might have to sleep on your couch, or Chris might have to give his couch.
I'm sleeping on the couch, but
who's sleeping in the bed in your room? I need a room for Tuesday night.
My son is in the bed.
Oh, all right. I'll have to find someone else's couch.
My son, by the way, who's here, Jabril is tall. Yeah.
No way.
Yes, because when Andrew first came in, the first thing I noticed, I'm like, oh my God, you're taller than Andrew. And Andrew said, you're taller than me.
Hold on, get him over there. I want him to stand next to you. Let me see.
Jabril.
I haven't seen him in such a long time. The last time I saw him was at the Golden Corral buffet.
This is Jabril, taller than Andrew Jack.
Holy, Jabril, you got huge. I can't believe how tall you got. Holy. Chris, is he playing basketball?
No, Andrew wants him to train with him tomorrow.
Jabril, you got to outdo Fareed now. Come on, man. You got to have like a little inter-Aceto competition going on.
We'll get that going. I need to hop on the cycle. I'll be there.
Don't hop on Nick Walker's cycle because it doesn't work, obviously. Yeah.
He's so wide that he unintentionally knocks into everything.
You look great, though, Jabril. Really impressive.
It's true. He unintentionally, you know what I mean? When you're walking into the room, like he bumps into stuff because
knocks over a lamp and just.
Did he really? Oh, because he's so wide. Yeah. Jabril, you look. I'm seriously. When you stood next to Chris, you look like you're a 30-year-old, NBA star. You don't even look like a kid anymore. It's unbelievable.
I'll take that.
Unbelievable. Chris, you got to get this. You got to get him in the gym, man.
Yeah, I told you we went to see your buddy last night.
Chris Angel, yeah.
Chris Angel, and he was in a straitjacket.
This is you're telling the story. This is a funny story, actually.
Okay, so Dave's good buddies with Chris Angel. And so we
the magician.
Yeah, and so they had the Olympia one year at Chris Angel's auditorium. If you remember, Chris came out and made like a little speech for, he follows bodybuilding, and he went to high school with Dave, and Dave's good buddies with him. And I tell Rio, hey, Dave's good friends with Chris, and if Dave was out here, we would have had backstage passes, which is true.
Yeah.
And he follows to some degree bodybuilding, so he does a straight jacket act. And they put him in like 2 straight jackets, and they hang him upside down on the stage, and then they zip him like into the audience. And I told Dave he was no more than 5 feet above me and Jabril's heads. And he gets out of the straight jacket and he says directly to me, "Oh, it's good seeing you. Oh, thank you. It's great to see you." He's waving and smiling and he's talking. I'm like, is he talking? And Jabril says, "Oh, he knows you from Dave." I'm like, "No, he does not know me from Dave." And so then there's a first ever fire alarm during the show. So the audience doesn't know if it's part of the show, whatever. And Chris stops the show and says, "Wow, there's a fire alarm. This has never happened." And he has to tell people this is not really part of the show.
Yeah.
So I got, just sit tight. I'm going to figure out what's going on. He runs off stage. He comes back on. He starts talking about things and trying to like buy time. And he goes, "Oh, by the way, Mom, can you stand up?" And his mother was sitting there. So he was saying hello.
The mother. Chris thought he was waving to him.
His mother.
His mom still lives, I believe she still lives in East Meadow, which is where I went to high school with Chris. And she still lives in the same house. It was like my father. She won't move. He's been trying to move her to Vegas for years. I'm pretty sure she's still in New York, but it's pretty fun.
I said, so Chris gave his 20-minute like talk on growing up and this, that.
Yeah.
That's like, Dave, it's all the little neighborhoods that you lived in.
Because, yeah, no, it was East Meadow. That's where I grew up.
Well, he just reminds me of you too, with just the, he started going talking about like, I started with like this little like $10 magic set, and I used to beg my parents, and I'd do magic all day long, and I wasn't a good student, and I decided like, he reminded me of you. Follow your passion. Dave followed bodybuilding.
They used to make fun of him, Chris, because he would do magic tricks in school, and everyone thought he was like a goofball.
That's what.
And who would have known, right? That he was going to grow up to be just like they probably thought I was a goofball working out with weights. Like, yeah, this guy has zero talent for bodybuilding, and look what I turned into.
And he had this dream, and the beautiful part of it too is, he did say like, he dreamed big, but he didn't dream like that big, like he was going to have the show in Vegas and stuff. So he just was like, so appreciative. He was saying about having the show and having it sold out every night, and how he loves the fans, because without the fans, he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing, and always pushing.
Yeah, he's my age. He's a year older than me. He's 57. He's still doing it. He's the #1 show in Vegas at 57 years old, doing physical magic tricks. I mean, that's not easy at his age,
Yeah.
So he's a good guy too. He loves
Dave was good. Dave said we were gonna get this hanging upside down. Dave's not here, but can we still get backstage passes?
You should have told. You didn't even tell me when you were going. He, his son, his oldest son, had leukemia, and
he talked about that in detail. He had to burn up a lot of time, Dave, while the fire.
They had the youngest son. They had the second son, so they can get some of the stem cells, and the blood, the bone marrow for the bone marrow transplant for the older one, and it basically saved his life. Very lucky. I mean, it was touch and go. Yeah,
but he did talk about.
Yeah, it was a very tough couple of years for him and his family, I know, and so it definitely brought them a lot closer together for sure. Yeah, because Chris lived a wild life, earlier, and when he was in his 20s and 30s. I mean, imagine being single in Vegas, having your own show. Remember, he was dating that Holly Madsen girl, the Playboy, one that was dating Hefner. Yeah, he was in the limelight there. He used to hang out with Lance Armstrong and all those guys. So, and he has all the comedian friends out there, Carrot Top. So, I mean, he had his bunch of cronies, and then then he got married and had kids, and now he still has the comedian cronies he hangs out with, but and some of the MMA guys. He's all into MMA. He actually got rid of his gym in his house and he turned it into an MMA gym.
He talked about it was a long.
Oh, he talked about that? Okay.
He talked about the MMA. In fact, because he had to buy time, he invited onto stage one of his friends who was like 2-time champion, blah blah blah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I mean, he loved it because he loves MMA.
Did he have Frank Mir? Was it Frank Mir?
No, it wasn't Frank Mir. I know.
He's really good friends with Frank Mir.
I don't really know, because I don't follow it, but I mean, people outside the sport know, a lot of it here. But it was somebody who trained him, in fighting, extensively. I thought, Dave, I was waiting. There was so much time. I told Jabril, I said, he's probably going to talk about David any minute now.
I'm going to text him.
Because he was talking about like working out and eating. Yeah. I thought he was like Dave's name was going to come out.
Well, now that I'm going early, I think I'm going to give him a call and see if I can go see the Wednesday show, because I'll be there. And I'm training a new guy. I don't know if I told you. Let me pull it up here. Not The Rock. The Rock is fighting. We'll had a run-in with Cody Rhodes. You know who Cody Rhodes is? The son of Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
The American Nightmare. That's one of my new clients now. So I'm doing his diet and getting him ready for WrestleMania. There's going to be a big. I don't know if it's going to be against The Rock or who, but it's going to be a big.
No, I heard Cody pulling out of that WrestleMania, Dave. I'm done with it.
He had fake hair. There they are, right there. There's Cody Rhodes on the right, and you want to hear and Roman Reigns on the left. You know something funny about this whole thing? I took my kids. Triple H got me tickets. My kids wanted to see the WWE when it came to Fort Myers like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So he got me tickets. We were front row, and my daughter was wearing this like crazy hat. And you would think my kids would like life. They had never seen a wrestling match. You would think that they were lifelong WWE fans because it's so exciting when you go to there and everyone's cheering and everything like that. And they're right at ringside essentially. And Cody was wrestling, just happened to be wrestling there. And I didn't really know him at that point. He came out of the crowd. He saw my daughter. He took her hat, put it on his head, went up on stage. He was doing a whole bunch of things. And then he came over and took pictures with the kids. And a year and a half later, now I'm working with him. So it was like a foreshadowing of what was to come. It's kind of funny how things happen like that. It's kind of like weird coincidences like that. So good guy, really good guy.
Previous to that, we cut the Michael Jackson, MJ show.
You saw the Michael Jackson show. You sent me the little clip, the illegal clip from there.
No, they let you at that show. They let you.
Oh, they do. Oh.
And I tagged Kenny, the posing coach, Kenny
Wallach.
Kenny Wallach, and I said, "Great routine, Kenny." Another one.
That's funny. That is funny. All right, so Andrew Jack is in the show. Nick Walker out.
Yeah.
Let's go over our top. Let's do the top 6 because we don't have to put them in order. Let's talk about who the guys who are going to be competitive for that top 6. Obviously, we got Hottie, we got Derek, we got Andrew, we got Samson, right?
Yeah.
Those seem to be. Everyone seems to be saying those are the guys that are going to be the top 4. Who do you see as the 5th, 6th, 7th spots?
Well, Martin is who lost by a point to
Nick Walker.
New York probably, moves into that slot, as a top guy.
What about Brandon Curry?
Yes, but who knows what he looks like? Because he hasn't competed for a year, and I don't. Does anyone really know what he looks like right now?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going. He's dark. He's in the dark right now. He's keeping his weight.
I didn't hype him up last week, but if you're going to the Olympia and you're not revealing pictures, it's probably in this case not because you don't look. It's probably because you look great.
Yeah, I don't think Brandon. I'm looking at his Instagram that he really hasn't shown off too much, lately.
The rope-a-dope, Dave.
He's playing the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope is right.
The lower expectations, and then people will be like, "Oh my God, Brandon Curry."
Yeah, I think we have to assume that I've never seen Brandon really, really, really off. And why he's so dangerous is because he's structurally so beautiful. If his legs ever matched his upper body, I think he'd still be Mr. Olympia, obviously. But, he came out of the hospital one day before the show, last year, and he placed 4th. I think a lot of people forget that. We forget Brandon was 4th place last year. And he wasn't at his best. He was good, but he wasn't at his best. So, if he comes in here at his best, and as Jay Cutler pointed out, and by the way, I want to thank Jay Cutler. I know he listens to the show. He came on. He did a phenomenal interview with me. We've been putting clips up. It's been very popular. Jay is just a class act. And Jay said the same thing. Not everyone shows up in shape. He goes, to expect everyone in that top group to be in their best shape is foolish. He said, it's not going to happen. It never happens. Even Jay said, I was off that 1 year. Or ostensibly 2 years, right? Because once when Victor could have potentially beat him, and then once when when Dexter did beat him. So not everyone hits it on the mark. Things happen, people get sick, stuff like that goes on. So Brandon Curry can certainly be top 4 again this year.
Yeah, no, he's the idea that we're not talking about him is it's it tells you the depth of the show, but it's also disrespectful because you're right.
Yeah.
He was fourth last year, and he did beat Andrew Jack last year.
Mhm.
And he was in the hospital and came out like 11th hour and walked on stage, and here I am, fourth.
Right. And he had every right to drop out, and he didn't. So
yeah, what a point, huh?
he could have gotten. He had a hospital. I'm sure he had a doctor's note. He could have stayed out, but he's a champion. He won the Olympia before. He knows how to win shows, and he knows how to overcome obstacles. And he said, "I'm doing it." Now, you've been showing me pictures of Akeem Williams, who I thought looks really good too. Can Akeem break the top 6 at the Olympia?
Akeem is the darkest dark horse in the show.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Just he's just loaded with muscle, and he's in really good condition, and he's definitely better than he was earlier in the year at the Arnold. And I did lie to him and tell him the wrong day of prejudge him because he only peaked the last.
He peaks the second day. Yeah, he peaks the second day.
So, but there's just a lot of talent in the show. I mean, look, we're talking about Akeem. We're not even talking about yet Hunter Labrada. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah. Well, that's why I want to see who you think is going to be the guys that are going to break in, the new guys break in. So we got. You mentioned Martin. You mentioned Akeem. We talked about Brandon. Let's bring up Hunter. Hunter obviously looking great in his victory in Italy this year. Can he bring it to the Olympia?
Hunter, Raphael. I mean, I don't look at the lists because I don't like to look at lists, but I know who's in the show, but I'm probably leaving someone out because I'm not even looking at the list.
Yeah.
I mean, we're wrapping up like top blah, blah, blah. We're just, we left out Hunter and Raphael.
Let's look at Hunter's 6 days to go here. Tell me what you think. He's putting it on the line. He must be very confident in the way he looks because he's been putting the videos out there. The pictures. I mean, he looks as hard as. I hope he doesn't look better here than he does on stage because sometimes that happens with him. He gets very nervous at the Olympia. He looks like he's ready to compete right now, doesn't it?
He looks phenomenal.
This would be a great if he had this look right here with tan on the Olympia stage. I mean, this is top 5 for sure.
It's, what I mean, David. There's so many factors that go into the last week that anything can happen, and that's why it's a hard show to handicap. And it's becoming like 100. It's 100-meter sprint where you might have the winner, and then the guys 2nd through 5th are all bunched up. In other words, it's hard to judge them. I mean, people are very close. People are very good.
Yeah. He's. This is the best I've seen him for sure. Is it enough to crack the top 5? We're going to find out. Can he beat like an Akeem Williams? Can he beat a Martin Fitzwater? Can he beat a Brandon Curry? I don't know. We're gonna. These are all questions that will be answered. Obviously, it's a shame that Beirut Tabani couldn't get his visa. Obviously, there's a lot of tensions with the Middle East now, and probably Iran is not the best country to be living in if you're trying to get into the United States. I think Hadi Chupin is kind of already grandfathered in. So I think that's why it's a lot easier for him to get over here. He's already, come here many times and he's a known commodity. I guess that's probably the reason. Because a lot of people ask me, why can Hadi come, but Beirut can't? I said, who knows? We don't even know. When they investigate people for a visa, we don't know what they find on people's records, and what they like or don't like, or what sets off red flags or doesn't set off red flags. I have to believe it's because Hadi, number one, is sponsored by an American company, Hadi Rambad's company, Evogen, and he's been here before.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
terrible way of dismissing it because he's got a great physique and he's a elite level bodybuilder, and there's obviously nothing. I'm sure every approach has been taken, every string has tried to been pulled. Anyone has probably been contacted trying to get him into the country, and he's got to sit by the sidelines again and watch it.
Yeah, well, Hadi's been in the United States for a few weeks now. He looks like he's ready to go. I've been following all the videos. I know Hadi Rambad's been posting, and Hadi looks like he's been ready to go for a few weeks now. So that's the way to do it. If you could be in shape early and eat up a little bit into this show, this guy's going to be a hard guy to beat. What is it going to take to beat Hadi Chopin on that stage from either Derek or the other guys?
Um, it takes a lot, you know. I mean, it's going to take a lot. It's, you know, we won't know till we see it, right? Isn't, you
But
know?
give us where his weaknesses are. You know, we could start with his height, maybe. That would be a weakness, right?
I don't even think that's a weakness. You know,
Well, that's his only. I don't see any other weaknesses. You? What other weaknesses does he have, really?
the only weaknesses he has really is, I mean, he is for his body. His two weaker poses are, I think, the side shots. You know, if you compare them to like how he looks on the front shots, front double, front lat spread, back double, back lat spread, abs and thighs most muscular.
Look at how strong he is, Chris. He's not. He doesn't even have his legs apart. He has them. They're like together, like he's standing, and he's pulling that weight like it's like a joke almost. This is a guy who lifts heavy, and that's why his physique looks like he looks heavy. He's got that grainy, gnarly, dense muscle like we saw from Dorian Yates.
Yeah, no, he's. I mean, it's universally accepted that he's damn impressive. You know.
And he's definitely got the best beard in bodybuilding, right?
You know, I'm trying to pick him apart, and I'm talking about his weak of all his strong poses. The two weakest of the strong poses is the side chest and side tricep. But if you ask me those strong poses, yeah, they're strong poses still.
Who's got a better beard, Guy Cisternino or Hadi Chopin?
Guy for sure.
I don't know. We should have a beard off between the two of them. You know, the guy actually texted me. He's like, "When are you coming in?" I said, "We got it. We got to be." I told him we're going to meet up. So it's going to be fun. Look at this. This is a good.
What are you showing me, Dave? Nothing's on the screen. Did you freeze up again? Dave's 2 for 2 the final week prior to the Olympia, freezing up. He's going to take that computer. He's going to take a baseball bat to that computer. Somebody's sending a message here. Can't see anything, anybody. Dave froze again. That's what he gets for coming out with his rants against Big Nick. I'm kidding, Dave. Dave doesn't want to pick the top 5 because he wants to be able to after the show say, "Oh, that would have been my top 5." Dave, we got to get to classics. So I'll give you the update on Ramon Dino. Ramon Dino is definitely. Dave won't even talk about classic. He'll forget about it. He'll wrap up the show without even talking about it. Ramon is definitely at his best. He's improved. He's bigger than last year. I think people have seen the pictures that he's posting. Isn't it an irony that last year he had no preview pictures, and now like every single day he's posting preview pictures?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't know.
You froze twice, Dave. We just wrapped up all over. I said, truth hurts, and we went home.
Thank God we use StreamYard. We don't have to worry about dropping out and the show ending. The old days, the show would have been over. That would have been it. You're looking at Mo Foti here? What do you think about Mo?
I think he looks great.
Would you think he's a top 6 competitive possibility or no?
Not this year, I don't think.
I think he needs more size. That's my take on it.
You know, the one thing about the Olympia too is it's a big deal when it's your first year, and that little gray area is the unknowns because you've never been on the Olympia. There's nothing like going to the Olympia for a fan. It's just too exciting, and there's like it. The first time you qualify, it's too exciting because you're at the most important bodybuilding competition 60 years straight, in the world. And so, when you're a newbie to the show, sometimes it creates nerves and creates, nerves that you didn't think you were going to get. And that plays into your peak, and that just plays into your, like, the way you display your physique. You're going up against guys like who've been there before, and you're in a comparison with them, and yeah, you're fighting, but it's just a whole different first experience mindset compared to doing other pro shows.
Does this back win him the show?
Who's back?
Derek Lunsford.
It did last.
Yeah, it won him last year, right? The show.
Well, you know what? When it came for people who were in the middle and didn't know who they were going to pick and weren't quite sure, it came down to the back double for them, for a lot of people. Like when you ask people who are pretty good with pretty good eyes, who do you have? Derek, or do you have Hardy? And they'd be like, I don't know. Hardy had this, Derek had that, Derek had this, Hardy had that. And for a lot of people, it came down to like hedging their bets and saying, I think Derek. And you'd say, why? And they'd say, well, he had the best back shots.
Back wins sometimes. By the way, I want to say hello to Fred Biggie Smalls, who's in the chat right now. Biggie's going to be at the Olympia. He's going to do some wrap-ups with us, Chris. So he's all excited to do that. I also wanted to mention, I think it's important that we mention George Peterson, who died 3 years ago at the Olympia, just prior to the Olympiad. George the Bull, as he was known, was a real class act. I mean, I knew this guy from New York for many years. He was just a super, super great guy. And we really lost a great one when we lost him. If you remember, he was in the hotel room and they found him he passed in his hotel room. My friend Justin was his coach, and it was a terrible loss. And I want to just take a moment where everyone could kind of remember George Peterson for the great man that he was and for the great contributions to the sport of bodybuilding, classic physique, because he was a true gentleman and he was a true Iron Warrior. He lived and breathed bodybuilding. He loved it, but he gave back to the fans. He was one of the most pleasant guys you'll ever meet if you met him in person. People loved this guy. He just was a genuine guy who I never heard anyone say a bad word about. And even to his fellow competitors, he was always a gentleman. And there was some shows where he should have won probably, and he didn't. And he was a great sportsman always. So, George, we miss you. And I know you're watching down over us this coming weekend, going into the Olympia, and you'll never be forgotten. That's for sure. So, thank you. Just wanted to take that little moment, and let's talk about Classic, Chris. Since probably the two most exciting classes in the Olympia, at least for the fans, seem to be the Classic Physique, probably because Chris Bumstead is one of the most popular bodybuilders in all of the industry. And of course, the Men's Open. But let's talk about this Classic Physique. Is this the year that Bumstead is the most vulnerable, or is this going to be another year where Bumstead's going to just slam the door shut on everyone else and say, hey, look, I run this show. Yeah, you guys might be close, but I'm still the champ.
I think that's going to play out on stage.
Well, what do you think? What's your theory? I mean, you obviously are helping Ramon Dino.
I think Ramon Dino is extremely.
How much closer do you think he'll be this year to Bumstead than he was last year?
What's that?
How much closer will Ramon Dino be to Chris Bumstead this year than he was last year?
Much.
What are the improvements that you would say he made? This is a hard physique to beat right here.
His back is much better. His arms are very big. His legs are big. He's big. I saw him last night at 7 o'clock, and to me, he looked like almost an open guy.
Really?
Yeah, very big, very dense, very mature. He prepped for 20 weeks. He prepped for 6 weeks for the Arnold.
So this is the first time he's in a few shows where he's given 100% effort to this show.
He does not look like that.
Well, this is from the past show I think he did, right?
Yeah.
So, at his point in his career, I'm assuming he's right on that borderline. You know, he's got to suck down to make weight and everything like that. How much longer can he hold himself at this weight without being a detriment to his physique? In other words, is this a category that you see Dino staying in for long term, or is there a possibility of him moving up and trying to move into an open class situation?
I don't know. I've never thought about it, and I don't think he's ever thought about it, simply because he's chasing the title, you know. And that's not to say that he doesn't have the ability to move up, but you know, you can be the same weight 1, 2, 3 years in a row, but it can look, you know, totally different. You know, I mean, he had as much. He had, if the first year he did the Olympia, he had as much struggle as he ever had making the weight, but he's got a lot more roundness to his body now. And if you go back to that first year when he was 5th place, he was, you know, very ripped.
You know, guys like Dino look amazing when we just see him. You look at Wesley Vissers, you know, you say, wow, what a great physique. But for some reason, when these guys stand next to Bumstead, he has something else that these guys don't have. It's not that, because a lot of these guys have better body parts than Bumstead. Bumstead doesn't have very good arms. His back is not great, but it's just the way he seems to be, you know, structured. It was almost like whenever I used to watch Corey Everson compete against those women back in the day, she had that also, that something structurally was just better than the rest of the group. It wasn't that she was more muscular. It wasn't that she was leaner. She just was put together better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I mean, Bumstead, you can say, no, I can find, the irony is I can find like negatives in his physique. I'll say what they are. His arms are like, he's got like flat
biceps.
That big. He's got at least one torn quad. On his back, doesn't have a lot of, it's got like width to it, but there's no like bumps.
No depth. There's no depth. Yeah.
There's depth, but it's a great back double bicep. It's bizarre, you know, and the way he positions his legs on any shot.
He knows how to show his physique off for sure.
He knows how to show his physique perfectly well. And he's probably the only person who has technically weak body parts or odder shaped body parts that you would never say they're odd in the poses.
Right.
But I agree with you, the structure. You know, it's a structural class still. And that's why Terrence Ruffin, you know, at his absolute best, is a top 5 guy all day long, even though he's
smaller. Yeah.
Well, no, he is small, but he doesn't appear small on stage because of his, you know, his structure. So, you know, that great analogy, Dave, between Corey Everson, because I was around when Corey Everson was competing, and I used to see her train in the gym, and I thought, you know, she just was put together in a way that would allow her to, you know, beat people with also a lot of, you know, probably more muscle than her. I'm not saying people have more muscle than Chris, but in her case, you know, structure was not king but queen, you know.
Well, Chris is probably one of the few guys, the few classic guys that I would say that don't have great arms. I mean, most classic guys, that's like one of the calling cards.
Yeah,
great biceps and triceps. I mean, Dino's got fucking blasting arms, you know, but it doesn't seem to negatively affect him because of the way he's put together. I don't know why. I mean, it would be great if he had bigger arms, but it doesn't seem to be holding him back, you know, from winning titles. So it just goes to show you that it's how your body flows in that division, because it's an illusion, because you don't really see his arms as weak. They're not, you know, the best body part, but they're not like detracting where he can't win the show because of it. And I think he's just in harmony. His body parts are all in harmony with each other. That's the best way to put it. Even
Chris Angel was surprised.
I got to text Chris when we hang up. When we finish this show, I got to text him and remind him to get me tickets for Wednesday night.
Hi to me and
I'm going to say, I'm going to say, I heard you saw my friend Chris Aceto. He'll be like, where was he? I was sitting next to your mother when you flew over him in the freaking theater. If like, oh, I saw him, he'll say blonde hair, son.
It was his mother and his daughter. He, a 2-year-old. He had to bring the 2-year-old Dave up on stage too. You know what, Dave? You had twice tonight's show that your computer froze up,
right?
And in his show, fire
he had a fire alarm go off. Yeah. Unbelievable.
People waiting. Isn't it funny? The only Chris Angel show when the fire alarms go off, people are like, oh wait, disillusion. We're all gonna burn up. That's why he had to like, you guys. You know, Dave, when he said like, this is, you know how he talks, right? The cadence.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not part of the show. People like, oh yes, it is.
He still has the Long Island accent. That's what you're talking about. That's why we sound alike, because we both have that Long Island thing going on, you know. So, well, it's going to be a great week. I'm actually looking forward to going. You know, by the way, I don't know if you know, but I just found out John Romano and I were talking before. John Romano was actually on the panel that's going to be asking questions at the press conference.
Oh, you kidding? Who's part of that panel?
They finally put together, I don't know who the other people are, but they finally added a real journalist on there. I was very impressed that they did that. That's great. I said, John, I'll give you some questions. Kristen, I'll give you some questions to ask the guys.
Yeah. Well, we'll get answers like ABC News. Was it ABC News? Saying that they rigged the debate.
They get a fact check Hadi Chopin and Derek Lunsford, you know.
Yeah.
But they won't fact check Andrew Jack though. So I don't know. You know, the funny thing is that the press conference will be Wednesday. Thursday will be Meet the Olympians. Friday, obviously at night, is the prejudging.
God.
Saturday. Oh, by the way, what did you think of what Jay said about the whole? You know, because you know that I've been very vocal about, and you have too, about the fact that they start the men's prejudging on Friday night too late, and it's not good for the athletes. Jay made a very, 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 impassioned plea. Matter of fact, he even said, I'm not going to the prejudging on Friday out of protest because I don't like the fact that they don't tell these guys when they're going to go on and they put them on too late. And I thought that was a very bold statement because Jay is never one of the people who
invites controversy.
Yeah, he's like, you know what, Dave? He goes, I'm 51 years old. I don't give a shit anymore. It's the right thing to say because you know what, these guys, it's not fair to them. They should know when they're going to go on stage. He goes, back in the day when, sometimes they would have the prejudging at 9:00. He goes, I would leave my house at like 8:15. He goes and drive to the theater and I go backstage and I compete. I know exactly when I had to be there. So I don't know, what they're going to do this year. I haven't spoken to Dan about that. Hopefully the guys will not go, because if the guys go on at 10:30 at night, again, it's like 1:30 in the morning, New York time, and Eastern time. And that's late. I don't think that would,
well, I mean, you've discussed this. We've discussed it ad nauseum about just the idea that, it's a big show, and it just is. Everybody looks not their best at night. The way it goes. You could wake up in the morning. All 15 competitors could wake up in the morning and, all 15 are going to change as the day goes on. Some for good, some for bad.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You know what I mean? They have to figure out how to, figure out their bodies between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. and 9 p.m. But, it's the intangible, or it's not intangible, it's tangible, that the body changes as the day goes on. And there's going to be some people, 1 or 2 people, where they're going to say, I look great this morning, a lot different than I did, 12 hours later.
Yep. Well, people are asking what the tickets cost. Well, there's no tickets left for the Mr. Olympia competition. But listen, if you're going to the show and you don't have tickets, I guarantee there'll be people scalping tickets out there because people have extra tickets. They don't know what to do with them. I see it all the time. So don't panic. If you really want to go to the show, hang around outside the show before it starts. There'll be people trying to unload the extra tickets they have. And you can always pick up some tickets. If you don't want, you can go to the club there. Sid, what's the name of that club? They're going to be doing a watch party. Everyone's going to be watching it there. They're going to be drinking, having fun. There it is. All right, Sid's put it up. Official Olympia watch party. is brought to you by Body Dream. And it's going to be, what club is that? It's going to be at Zouk, the Zouk nightclub in the Hilton Hotel there. So there it is. There's all your information. 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard on October 12th. So check it out. If you can't get into the theater, you get it. Are they charging for tickets, Sid, at that watch party? Wow. Lee Priest is so funny because it's called the Blue Oyster Gay Bar. I'll be there covering each of them. Lee, you're the funniest. Oh, by the way, I saw Valentino in the chat before. Just in case, there you are, Greg. I don't know if anyone knows. Greg had his gallbladder removed, so I just wanted to just put it out.
Greg is the first alternate for the question. In case Romano has to drop out, Greg Valentino.
Andrew Jack is not out of the Olympia. He's in the Olympia. So don't ignore all the BS clickbait stuff that they have out there. He is in the Olympia. Andrew Jack will be on that stage. And you know what? He might just go home with the victory. So what do you think? What are the Vegas odds? Do they have a Vegas line on bodybuilding, Sid? See if you can find that. I bet you they do. Because they have a Vegas line on everything. You can bet on anything these days. I'm going to look it up.
I think you can bet on the election. Didn't the Supreme Court hand that down? Like, I'm pretty sure.
Is Trump allowed to bet on the election? Or is that like Pete Rose betting on the election? By the way, I was very upset when I saw Pete Rose died the other day. I was a big Pete Rose fan. I mean, this guy, when you have a nickname like Charlie Hustle, that's a guy who would not miss a meal if he was a bodybuilder. That's a guy who wouldn't miss a workout if he was a bodybuilder. That's a guy who certainly wouldn't drop out of the Olympia, right, Chris?
No, he wouldn't. Manager Matt was on the phone with Phil. Phil, I said, I don't know if I said, congratulations. He was on speakerphone. I said, congratulations, Phil, on entering the Hall of Fame and beating out
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose.
Yeah, well, Phil Heath definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But there is no Hall of Fame, yeah.
Bet on your Olympia wins.
Someone said that, did Pete Rose have a restaurant in Boca? Well, yeah, there's no Vegas odds sit on the Olympia because they know it's the stupidest bet of all time. To bet on the Olympia.
No, what we're going to do, Dave, is the guy who got, if the 4 people from last year also who got the top 10 right, get the top 15 right, then you want their names, right? You need their names so that you know what?
Right. You know why there's no Vegas line on bodybuilding? Because you can. It's too easy to rig. It's not like who crosses the finish line first. So you can't have a line on that. It's like having a line on WWE wrestling. Who's going to win that? It's predetermined. Not the bodybuilding is predetermined, but I'm just saying it's too kind of like there's no definitive way to say who wins or not, and there's too much chance for corruption, I guess, in doing that. Can you imagine if there was imagine there's like a 20-1 on what's his name, Andrew Jack winning, and someone bets $1,000 on that or $1 million on that. Forget about it. Bankrupt the place. All right. What did Sid write? Next up, RX bets. Yeah, maybe we should do I got to get some of my bookie friends involved. Maybe we can do a Vegas line. We can do a take bets on the Olympia. But right now, if you haven't signed up for the RX Muscle Contest Predictions Contest, Sid, put that link up there. Go over there. If you've already done it, you can actually modify your picks because remember now that Nick Walker's not in the show and Beirut Tabani is out, you can modify your picks. Whoever gets the most right will win probably $1,000 cash prize, Species Nutrition supplement package, plus chicken from the Chicken Pound. I believe he's putting 20 pounds up. That's a really nice gift from Carlo over at thechickenpound.com. And then we'll have second and third place prizes as well. It's the first of its kind. I have to really congratulate Sid on that because Sid did a great job putting this contest together. He made it work, and I think you guys are going to love it. It's very easy to fill out the form, send it in, and if you win, then we'll get you on the show, and Sid will announce it probably at the final wrap up at the Olympia. We can have Samir Bannout announce the winner's name if he can do it. I'm sure he will want to be in that final wrap-up, Chris. As you know, Samir likes to give his opinion. I'm sure him and Milos will be arguing till the wee hours of the night on the Olympia Saturday night.
Oh, they'll be, they could talk 4 hours on breaking down the show.
I look forward to hearing all the arguments at the Olympia. It's fun because you know what? Not everyone agrees. And that's what makes it so enjoyable for me, at least.
Well, that's the sport. People have people see the prejudging through a different lens, or different. I don't want to say bias, but a different. People have different opinions of the results.
Now I'll be also on Saturday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. I will be at Bob Goldman's International Sports Hall of Fame. I want to give a shout out to that because they invited us. And I know, Chris, you probably won't want to go because you'll be too busy with your guys, but I'll be there with Sid and the crew. And Phil Heath is being inducted into the IFBB, into the International Sports Hall of Fame, Bob Goldman's Hall of Fame. Misha Tate, Brian Shaw, Jim Plunkett, the quarterback from the Oakland Raiders, who I didn't know this, but did you know he won the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. I forgot Plunkett won the Heisman Trophy.
Played for New England.
Yeah. And Bruce Buffer, who's the brother of the other Buffer brother. What's the other Buffer's name? The main brother. Sid, help me out here. Bruce and Buffer. Michael Buffer, thank you. Bruce Buffer is going to, I think I told Sid he has to interview Bruce Buffer, and I want to see who has a boomier voice. I'll have Sid introduce Bruce, and then I can have Bruce introduce Sid, and then it'll be a contest and we'll see who sounds better. You think Sid?
I'll place my bets on Sid.
You will? Wow. Sid, are you up for it? Can you imagine? I'm interviewing Bruce. Since interviewing Bruce, we hear these loud, booming voices. I'd like to welcome the one and only Sid Faruqi. What are you right? You would be. You should tell them that you're the long lost brother from Pakistan, Sid. Maybe they'll put you into the Olympia head position there of MC. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing the whole crew. Chris, you, Sid, John Romano. No, Valentino's not going. Lee Priest is not going this year. He said he'll be at the Arnold. But I'm sure we're going to see a lot of old and new friends. And I know a lot of my clients are going to be there, so it's going to be a great weekend. I know I'm going to see Dom Super Sliced. I'm going to be going to his clinic that he runs over there. I'm going to be seeing, I think I'm going to try to see Hide and Iris at their gym and Flex Lewis at the Dragons. I see Flex is setting up a separate gym in the resorts over there. So if you want to work out, if you buy a week pass to Flex's gym, you can actually work out right in the hotel, what they're going to set up with all the equipment they're bringing over there. Oh, and the RX Muscle live stream is going to be hosted by King Kamali. And we have a whole bunch of other special guests going to be joining King Kamali. So if you're not going to be at the show and you're watching at home, the live stream, you can tune into the RX Muscle commentary. King Kamali and crew will be doing like they did the last couple of years. They'll be doing a live stream on Friday night and Saturday night. And I'm sure they're going to be staying up to the wee hours of the night since it's a 3-hour time difference. So I want to thank them as well. We have great coverage, and all the coverage this week will be sponsored by Species Nutrition. And so I think you guys are going to be very happy with what we bring to the table. Hopefully we don't lose any more people in the lineup between now and then. And it's King Kamali, Armand and DB, Beef Stew. Oh, Beef Stew is going to be doing it. Guys from Fitness and Podcast, John Livia, Giovanni Del Biondo, our good friend. And you never know who else might show up. So
that means wrap it.
There you go. All right, we're wrapping up, as we say every week here, Chris, with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts.
We will see you again at the Olympia and then back again next week.